guys, it's Kira and welcome back to another episode of Vlogmas. It is Saturday the 17th of December, so this time next week it will be Christmas Eve, which I think is crazy. But today me and Jay have quite a busy day, starting with we're going to like a fancy estate called Harewood House because they have like a Christmas thing on and they've got lovely gardens and hopefully, fingers crossed, a nice cafe. So I think that should be quite a nice festive day out. But as per usual, I am running behind schedule, so I'm going to be bringing my tea with me in the car. I'm going to make it in a keep cup instead of a normal mug and I'll do my taste test in the car. So without further ado, let's find out what we're going to be drinking today. Hopefully it's a good one because the last couple of days have been disappointing. Bull. This is absolute bull. I'm so mad. I'm so mad and so upset. There's absolutely nothing festive about strawberry and pomegranate, and I also know I'm not going to enjoy that one, so I'm not even going to bother to make it in the keep cup because it's not worthy of my time or effort. I just feel like, yeah, I won't go on, but I am so disappointed this year. I just feel like there's been so many disappointing flavours, like nothing festive. I'm just like, it's a Christmas thing, it's an advent calendar. Where's the festivity? So I won't bother bringing that with me because it's a fruit tea and I can already tell you what my reaction will be. It'll be, oh, this smells quite fruity, but it tastes like hot water, because that is the case with every single fruit tea. I'm sure I'll make it later and try it, but since we're in a time crunch, I won't bother doing it now because it's not really worth the rush and hassle. So there we go, another day, another disappointing tea. One thing though that isn't going to be disappointing is the book that I'm going to be reading this weekend, and that is going to be Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Now, the reason I know this won't be disappointing is because it is a reread, and I am so excited to reread this book because it is such a wonderful story. It's not, I guess, explicitly a Christmas story, but there are elements of festivity in the novel. I think it even starts at Christmas time, and I just think it feels so cozy and wintry and perfect for this time of year. So I'm planning to reread that book this weekend and also rewatch the 2019 movie because it's on Netflix and I absolutely love that movie with my entire heart. I just think it is absolute perfection. So although the tea advent calendar continues to let me down, rereads are the perfect place to go for something that you just know you're going to love. And I had such a nice time rereading Anne of Green Gables last week that I just felt like another classic reread was definitely in order, and Little Women is definitely one that I have been desperate to reread and now seems like the perfect time. So without further ado, gonna head out for my day out with Jay, so I'm actually probably not going to be doing any reading for a little while. I might bring the book with me in case there's time to read in the car, but chances are I'll be doing some reading later when we get back. We're also going out for dinner today because it was my stepdad's birthday earlier this week, so we're going out for a celebratory dinner, so that should be out for most of the day, but the book will be waiting for me when I get home, and I think I might make some warm cookies, cup of tea, nice book. It's going to be perfect. So there we go, let's go out. So a slight change of plan for this evening. My stepdad unfortunately wasn't feeling very well today, so we've had to postpone his birthday celebration meal, which of course meant that instead of going out for dinner, we came home straight after our trip to Harewood, which by the way was absolutely lovely. An expensive day out because you have to pay for like entry into the house and that grants you access into the grounds, so it was kind of an expensive day out, but at the same time it's Christmas and the grounds are so beautiful that it definitely felt worth it to go at this time of year, so that was lovely. But straight after that, instead of then going over to Leeds to go out for dinner, we came straight home and decided to just have dinner at home and then watch Love Actually, because we haven't watched many Christmas films yet this year. We watched a couple of like rubbish Hallmark movies right at the beginning of December, and then I think maybe last week or the week before we watched that new Christmas film, which is Your Christmas or Mine, which I really liked, but we haven't really watched many like classics, so we decided to put Love Actually on tonight. And I would love to know which of the storylines from Love Actually is your favourite. Me and Jay were ranking them and giving all of the different storylines scores out of 10, and I ended up settling on one that even surprised myself, because I actually think my favourite one might be Colin Firth going to Portugal, and that's not one that I ever like think of abstractly when I'm thinking of Love Actually, but when I was watching the scenes this evening, I just found that they were really funny and I really liked how that one played out. So I think that one is my favourite, although to be honest, it's definitely subject to change and I feel like there are different things that I like each time I watch it, but that one was the one that jumped out to me today. Jay?
Yeah?
Which one was your favourite again?
Not the Prime Minister one.
Which one though?
I did put the number 1 storyline, but I think I put it in 4th, but I actually think the Portugal one might actually be my favourite.
Ah, that's fun. So you're between the Christmas single and Portugal.
I put the Snape guy as well high up there, and then I also had Keira Knightley one up there as well. So
yeah, I mean they're all good. I mean I think they're all good. You clearly don't think that some of them are good.
Some of them are not good.
But yeah, I think the only one that I really think is a waste of space is the guy who goes off to America to find love, because I feel like it just feels very separate from the rest of the storylines and not as exciting. But yeah, I'd love to know in the comments down below if you have a favourite storyline from Love Actually and which one it is, and whether you agree with me and Jay about Colin Firth in Portugal being, I feel like, an unsung hero. I feel like people didn't talk about that storyline that much, but I really liked it. And so although it was unfortunate that we didn't get to go out for dinner and obviously celebrate my stepdad's birthday, it was quite nice to watch Love Actually because that one's been on the agenda for the entirety of December, so it was nice to get it done. And also, of course, to make a start on reading Little Women a little bit earlier than I anticipated. So I have only managed to read about 4 chapters, which is 50 pages of this book, but before we go any further, I do just want to take a moment to appreciate the cover. I think I say this every time I've ever read this book, but it is just the most spectacularly beautiful cover. It is from the Puffin in Bloom edition, and I know that they have Heidi, because I have a copy of that as well, and also Anne of Green Gables. I'm sure there are others, but those are the 3 that I have definitely seen, and I just think that they are such beautiful books. Honestly, probably one of the prettiest books I own. So just wanted to highlight that before we go any further. But I love Little Women. I feel like I have just got such a great connection with the characters from this story, and I feel like the fact that it's about 4 sisters is really interesting because there are elements of each of the 4 sisters that I think you as the reader are able to relate to, and of course some people might feel more of an affinity for one than the other, but I do think that each of the sisters kind of represent various qualities that like the reader is able to kind of recognise themselves in, and so it feels really like welcoming almost to like go into a book with these characters, because I think you immediately just feel as though you've been kind of dropped into the March family and you like just feel almost like one and the same with the characters, or at least that's my experience. I feel like you just feel as though you are like in and amongst the hustle and bustle of the family, and I just think it is like a really immediately welcoming narrative where you just get that sensation of being just like placed right in there and feeling very much at home, and I feel like that's such a nice feeling to get from a book. I was right in the sense that the book does have some parts at Christmas because it starts actually on either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and the sisters are kind of lamenting what life would be like if they were richer and how they don't want to go without Christmas presents and stuff. But of course there are lots of moral lessons to be learnt, and the main one coming from Beth, basically reminding them that they're super lucky to have each other and a family. So it's a very nice, like, wholesome Christmassy message to start with. And then since then we've also been introduced to Laurie as a character, and it's kind of just setting up the relationships between the sisters and how their family connections work, as well as then what the introduction of an external member of the sort of team getting dropped in the form of Laurie. So I really love it, and it has just made me so excited to watch the movie. I don't know when I'm gonna have time to do it, but I'm determined to do it before Christmas, because nothing would make me happier than watching Saoirse Ronan and Florence Pugh on the screen again, because I just think they are incredible. So, loving Little Women. I'll try and do some more reading this evening, but quite frankly, I'm ready for bed. So I'll probably do a couple more chapters, then head to bed and pick up with this one again in the morning. Tangent, but I'm gonna bring it around because lunch has always been my personal least favourite meal of the day. When I was at school, I would always forget to bring packed lunches, or I didn't really like traditional lunch foods like sandwiches because they'd go mushy and gross, and it was just a big no from me. So I'd end up just like having something that like got off one of my friends' plates, which was probably really annoying to them in hindsight, or I would just bring like biscuits or like snacks, and then I would go home and I would eat toast when I got home and like fill up on that rather than eating lunch at lunchtime. So lunch has always been this like a difficult meal for me. I've always really struggled to know like what to have, but it's also like an important time in the day because you're like refueling and you need that like energy to get through the afternoon of work. And I think one thing that I guess is a benefit of working from home that I haven't been making the most of until recently is the fact that you don't have to pack a lunch. Like, you don't have to have those traditional lunch foods that fit in a lunchbox that you take out to the office, like sandwiches or wraps, and you actually have the luxury of being in a workplace where you also have access to a kitchen. So recently I started making soups for lunch because soup is something that I never ever bore of. It is just the most wonderful thing, especially in winter, and it's also healthy because the other thing that I would eat with it was basically toast. I would have like toast for lunch, and I also eat toast for breakfast, so it's a lot of bread in one day, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I definitely felt as though like I wasn't really getting much wholesome nutrition in the middle of the day. So I started making soups, and I've been doing that for probably about 6 weeks now, and it is so perfect because you get to try a new soup flavour every week if you're making them yourself, and also I make them at the start of the week and then I have lunches for the whole week because I just make a big batch, leave it in the fridge, and it's just ideal. However, today is actually Monday the 19th of December, and it is my last working day before Christmas. I've booked the rest of this week on annual leave, so I didn't want to make a big batch of soup for this week because I kind of thought I was only going to really need it for today because the rest of the week I'm sure I'll be busy and not necessarily having lunches at home, so I didn't want to waste all of the ingredients, but I did want to have something wholesome and tasty, and I'd already had toast for breakfast, so I didn't want to just have toast. So looked in the fridge and I had a roll of puff pastry in the fridge, which is accidentally vegan. I also had some leeks and red cabbages, and I decided to make myself basically like puff pastry pies or pasties, whatever you want to call them, and I'm hoping they're going to be delicious. They've also got some vegan camembert cheese in, so I'm going all out because I feel like it's nice and wholesome, but also a little bit festive because I feel like red cabbage and camembert not often put together, to be honest, but they are both like very festive foods in my opinion. So I'd love to know, one, what is your favourite meal of the day, and what's the meal of the day that you just like can't be bothered with? Because I feel like everyone has at least one of the 3 meals that is just like, ugh, I know I have to eat something, but it's a bit of a pain. For me it's lunch, but I know a lot of people it's breakfast. So which is your like pain meal? And if you love lunches, or like me have struggled with them but like come around to find some good options, I would just love to know what your lunch option is, like what kind of things you go for, because I'm loving the soup, but I recognise that they are, I guess, like more wintry food. So I'm thinking ahead for when it gets to like summertime. I'm trying to plan like some good lunch ideas, because it's just fun to have something that's like there to look forward to in the middle of the workday. So yeah, my puff pastry things are in the oven currently and I can't wait to try them. But while they are baking, I thought we could open the tea advent calendar. It is currently almost 1:30. It's 1:23, so I'm almost at the end of my lunch break. I'm gonna have to actually eat the puff pastry things at my desk. That is the downside to having only decided to make them today, is that actually making them has taken up most of my lunch break. But alas, I'll just eat while I work in the afternoon and I'm sure it'll be delicious. But I thought while they were cooking we could make a cup of tea. Now it is Monday, and you might be thinking, I don't think you spoke to us yesterday, and you would be correct, because my Sunday ended up being quite busy. I spent the day with my mum mostly. We did some shopping. We both hate shopping, but it was like a let's get Christmas shopping finished and just like power through. So that took up most of my day, but because of how busy town is and we were on a mission, I didn't really end up filming anything. We went out for dinner in the afternoon, and then when Jay and I got home from dinner, we realised that we had a flat tyre, and then after sorting that out, well, we didn't actually sort it out, I had to book for someone to come and sort it out. So after making all of those arrangements, the day was over and I just thought, let's just start again on Monday, because that's what Mondays are for. So I didn't end up opening the calendar yesterday or filming anything, but I'm back now for Monday, and that means that I have 2 doors to open, and I'm going to be a bit cheeky and open 19 and 20. That's a lie, 18 and 19, because today is the 19th, not the 20th. But I'm going to open both doors and then just choose whichever one of those 2 flavours sounds nicest to have now, and then I will of course have the other one later on. So 18 first is, if it will focus, all-nighter supercharged yerba mate, coffee and cocoa. I'm sure I just said yerba mate wrong, but I don't know what it actually is. But that is like the tea blend, I think. So that sounds caffeinated for sure, but it's not gripping me, but I don't think it's gonna be bad. I just don't think it's not my favourite. So number 19 has the capacity to really catch my attention, and that is here. 19 is Dozy Girl, chamomile, lavender and rose. I'm just gonna quickly check on my puff pastry pies because I don't want them to burn. Oh, they look good. They look very good. Okay, so actually of the 2, I think this one, all-nighter, sounds like more of a get up and go kind of tea. So it's, you know, coffee, cocoa. I'm gonna have that one now because I've obviously got an afternoon of work ahead of me. And then Dozy Girl, not one I would choose myself. Chamomile teas are not my least favourite, but they're not my favourite either because they are quite a mellow and mild flavoured tea. So I think this one will probably be one for the evening time because it is more of a wind down tea. So that's made the decision quite easy because they have quite distinct properties to both of these teas. But I'm going to make the all-nighter tea now, allow my pastry things to keep cooking, and then I'll catch up with you and let you know what I think of the tea. Okay, tea is out of the no, tea is not out of the oven. Tea is brewed and my pasties are out of the oven, and I'm so happy with how they look. I am what they would describe as a cereal burner, especially when it comes to things like pastry that catch really quickly. I just always manage to leave it in for just slightly too long, but today I managed to get them out at the perfect time where they look just nice and golden and delicious, but they have not burnt, and I couldn't be happier. Obviously the proof is in the pudding, so I do need to try them, but on looks alone I'm very, very happy with how they've turned out, so that should make for a delicious lunch. And I'm also very excited by this tea because it actually smells really sweet, which I wasn't expecting. Obviously, granted, I don't know what yerba mate, if I'm pronouncing that right, actually is, so that might be quite sweet. I'll have to Google it later. But it smells really chocolatey, which I like because some of the chocolate ones, like Chocolate Digestive and the chocolate coconut snowball one, have been some of my favourites, and this one smells a lot like that chocolate coconut one, only minus the coconut, so basically just chocolatey. But in terms of the strength of the chocolate smell, that's kind of what I'm likening it to, so I can't wait to try this one. I'm actually like really excited because, as we know, I've been disappointed for the last few days with the tea flavours and just like not feeling very inspired by them, but this one actually has the potential to be quite tasty. I'm going to let it brew for just a moment longer, but whilst I do, I have another Amazon package that was delivered to Jay's parents' house and that I picked up yesterday, so I thought that we could open that one together as well. Wild Pets by Amber Medland, which says, Iris, Ezra and Nance are out of university and seem to have everything going for them, so why are they still swimming desperately against the tide? A bold and honest novel, Wild Pets is about the fragility of mental health, power imbalances in friendship and sex, and creative ambition fused with destruction and the lingering power of first loves. Ooh. This sounds fun. Well, not fun, it sounds quite dark to be honest, but it sounds like a good read and one that I'm hoping I'll really enjoy because it kind of, I don't know, sometimes you get a vibe from a blurb that just seems like a book that you would like, and that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from this one. So excited to read that one, and it is from my lovely friend Lucy, who I also can't wait to catch up with for coffee. She says I can't wait for our next coffee catch up. Lucy now lives a lot closer to me than she used to, but somehow between both of our busy schedules we actually haven't seen each other since she moved closer, which is kind of crazy, but in the new year that will definitely be on the agenda. So thank you so much, Lucy, and yes, I'll definitely be catching up with you soon for a coffee. So with that said, it's not quite coffee, but there's coffee in it, so let's give a try to this all-nighter tea. I don't know how to feel about this tea actually, because it's really jarring that it smells so sweet, like so sweet, and yet tastes really earthy. And I don't mind the earthy flavour, but it just doesn't correlate to the smell, so it's like a bit of a, oh, what's going on here kind of experience. I'm perplexed, I really am. I don't know what I'm tasting here. There's like the earthiness, there's a little bit, I think it's probably bitterness from the coffee. Not really getting any chocolate though, which is interesting because that's the strongest smell, but it's not a bad tea, it's just, yeah, there is always, it's like, I guess you rely so much on your smell to tell you how much something, or like what something is going to taste like, that when the two don't match up, it's a very strange experience. So yeah, I don't know what to think about that one. It's not bad, but it's unusual for sure. I've never had a tea like this. Well, there we go. Another day, another tea, and I'm about to eat those pasties. I need to make sure that I let them cool down because I would so be the sort of person to just bite right in and scald the inside of my mouth and regret it for the rest of the day. So I'm going to cut them in half probably just to allow some of the steam to escape, enjoy them for my lunch, get back to work for the afternoon, and then when I finish work this afternoon, that is it for Christmas and I can't wait. And I'm going to celebrate by putting a hair mask in, I'm reading some Little Women, which I think is the perfect way to start the Christmas break. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas! I bring gifts.
Woo! Okay, Sarah is here, which means that it is officially Friendmas Day. We did this for the first time last year, although this is our third Christmas as friends. I know. We met during like the first lockdown year, 2020. Yeah. So I remember all we could do for Christmas 2020 was just go for a walk at Round Day.
Oh god, yeah.
Sit in the freezing cold.
Wasn't it one time it was snowing and so we couldn't even leave, so we just FaceTimed?
Yeah, that was it. So last year we did a proper Friendmas and this year we're doing it again. So we've got some food in the oven and more to go in. We are really pigging out today, but that's what Christmas is all about.
Treat yourself.
But I thought that because the tea advent calendar includes 2 tea bags for every day, that Sarah could join me for today's tea. And I'm hoping that her presents manifest like a nice flavour. So, do you want to do
presents? I thought you meant presents.
No,
I was like,
your presents.
20, okay. You're gonna have to cut all this out. Okay. Oh, it's peach soda?
Oh.
The perfect peach soda pop. Wow, that's really spitty, isn't it?
Peach soda pop. And that is...
not Christmassy at all.
Okay, well, we'll give it a try. And we'll be back with a taste test, obviously, in just a moment. Do you know what? Let's hope for the best, because it's Christmas Day. Technically, it's Friendmas Day.
I think it'd be nice. Maybe it'd be like quite a refreshing one. You know, when you have your like refreshing beverages before your Christmas
We're
dinner.
about to have like a lot of heavy food, so maybe this is just what we need.
This is what I was actually going for with the Nando sauce.
Yes, let's do it. Let's make some peach soda. So, we have our teas, our peach sodas, and I've let these brew for probably about 10 minutes, so we're hopefully going to have some really good flavour in here. So, cheers. Let's give it a try.
I think it's nice.
Can you taste anything?
I'm not really getting a lot.
Like, it smells really peachy.
It's almost like really, really lightly flavoured water.
Yeah.
You know, when you dilute your juice.
Too much. Yeah. That's it. It's like it doesn't taste bad at all, but...
it just tastes I'm drinking really lightly flavoured water. I'm not getting peach at all, apart from smell.
Like to say it's such a strong smell. So, I mean, I'm not
opposed to it, but...
I could quite happily drink it if it's in front of me, but it's got no flavour that you'd be like, oh, I want to have another one of them, because it's like, might as well just make a hot water.
Yeah.
Alright, well, another disappointing tea, but it could be worse. It could be disgusting, and it's not. It's just not really very flavourful. But our lunch is ready on the table back there. We've just gone for like a picky bits kind of buffet, a lot of carbs. tried to find a few fresh things just to brighten up the table and give us a few vitamins. But very excited, and the most exciting thing of all is that while we eat, we are going to be watching the 2019 Little Women, because it's on Netflix and Sarah is up for it, so that's what we're going to watch, which is very exciting. So I'm very slowly but surely making my way through Little Women, and I'm really enjoying this reread. I just think this book is so wholesome and just like the perfect kind of thing to be reading at this time of year, and because of that I'm not rushing the reading experience, especially because it's a reread and I already know what happens. I'm just kind of enjoying it and soaking it all in and not putting any time pressure on the book. I'm just like allowing myself to read when I can and just enjoy the experience. But it is just such a lovely book, and if you haven't read it I would highly recommend it because I just think it's so wonderful. But what I can say with certainty is that while the book is wonderful, the 2019 adaptation of this book is, I think, one of my favourite things ever, and certainly is up there as possibly my favourite film of all time, because I think it is just so incredible. The cast, 10 out of 10, especially Saoirse Ronan and Florence Pugh. I just think the way that they play Jo and Amy and the way that they kind of bounce off each other and clash with each other is just so perfect. And I think Florence Pugh in particular should have received some kind of award for the way that she nuanced the character of Amy March, because I think in other adaptations and the way that I see people talking about Amy, there is just such a, I guess, like the lens of a villain is placed over how people view her as a character, which I think is completely wrong for a couple of reasons. First of all, because she's so young at the start of the book and she's the youngest child. She is a bit spoiled, but I don't think that makes her a villain. And second of all, I think people view Jo as the hero and therefore Amy as her antagonist and the villain of the story, basically. But actually, I think Jo and Amy are very similar characters, and so in that sense they clash often because their personalities are very similar, and yet because we see the story through Jo's lens, we actually just, or a lot of people choose to view her as the good one and the one to root for, and Amy as one to dislike. But I just don't really think that captures the nuance of their relationship as sisters, and I think that both of them have faults, but also both have really great personality sort of traits as well, and things that make them really unique. So I think that the 2019 adaptation and the way that Saoirse and Florence brought that to life, it just really captures the similarities of those two characters and just portrays them in such a nuanced way. I don't think it portrays Jo as this like unsung hero. I think it shows the nuance of her character and the way that she lets her ego and ambition kind of stand in the way of her own happiness a lot of times. And then with Amy, I think it shows, like, again, how her ambition and her sense of duty also could have sort of stood in her way of happiness, and how those two things can clash with each other. But I absolutely love it. I just think it is the best adaptation of any book ever. I really just think it is just so incredible. It captures the essence of the story so well, but also brings a really unique lens, I think, to this adaptation, because it is told in a much less chronological way. So in the book we obviously just follow the story and as it plays out in like real time, whereas in the film adaptation we have this back and forth between childhood and adulthood, and it's almost like the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle coming together to sort of clarify things that have happened that have informed people's personality development and the decisions that people have made, and it just like becomes clearer and clearer the more that you watch. And I just think it's a really interesting way to create a sense of like chaos that feels very akin to what a real family would be like, and I just absolutely love it. So I could talk about that for hours. I think it's such a great film, and I'm really glad that Sarah wanted to watch it with me because we had such a great time and I absolutely loved it. It is just the best film ever. But yes, really enjoying the reread, and we'll definitely be trying to get through some more of it over the next couple of days. But right now it is actually Wednesday and I'm just about to head out of the door. I'm off to my mum's house today. We're going to do some baking. I think we're going to make mince pies together, and then this evening me and Jay are doing the Christmas food shop, which for me is one of the most exciting days of the whole year because I love my Christmas food shop. But in and amongst all of that stuff, I will be trying to do some more reading. Literally just got back in the door after what was a very rainy run, and it's so nice to take those headphones off after a run. They're quite nice, especially in winter, because they keep your ears nice and toasty. But honestly, I didn't know ears could sweat until I started training for my half marathon in the summer of this year, and I was wearing these headphones and it is truly disgusting. So it always feels nice after you take them off, but they are quite handy to have. They're like double up as headphones and ear warmers. But it was a super rainy run. It was actually day 11 out of my 12-day challenge that I gave myself, which was running to Christmas. So the final run will be tomorrow. But I'm so impressed that I've managed to do 11 days of consecutive running, because whilst over the summer I was really into my running, I hurt my knee during my half marathon, or I think it kind of triggered an existing knee injury in my right knee, and so I took a little bit of time off and then have kind of struggled to get back into it ever since. But I'm loving it so much, and today's was the longest run that I've done in this challenge, but also for quite a while. It was just 4 miles, so not a long run at all, but it feels good to know that I'm like getting back into it and gradually ticking up the mileage, because I can't remember if I've actually mentioned it in a video yet. But I'm going to be running a full marathon next year in May, just after my birthday, which is quite nice because it is obviously a 26-mile race and I will be turning 26, so I will do my 26th birthday, and the following weekend I'll run a marathon, so I think that's quite nice. But I start training for that at the end of January, so I'm starting to just gradually think about getting back into it, and I feel like this running challenge was such a nice, fun, gentle way to get back into running regularly, and it's worked out so nicely. But it was so rainy. Don't know if the camera's really showing it up, but this is such a good waterproof jacket. I got it from Sweaty Betty, and it was quite expensive. It was, I think, probably like £120, but it's super waterproof, so I would say worth it because it actually does a great job. But yes, now that I've come back, I realised that yesterday I didn't open my tea calendar because I left to go to my mum's, and then I didn't get back until later on in the day, and I just completely forgot about it. So once again, I'm going to open 2 doors and see which one I fancy trying, which means that we have the 21st and the 22nd to try, I think. Yeah, that's right, it's the 22nd today. Okay, so we'll do the 21st first. Oh, Jesus. Mint pistachio. That sounds quite lovely, actually. I love nuts, and as herbal teas go, I don't mind minty ones. This is actually a black tea though, so you can have it with milk, and then it's got peppermint cardamom in it. Ooh, that sounds lovely. Do you know, I should have known because my birthday is on the 21st of May, and so 21 is my lucky number, and 21 has delivered on this calendar. So this one is definitely looking like the one I'm gonna try, but I'll open 22 as well, and we'll see, because maybe the tea calendar is about to get back in my good books and deliver another good flavour. Moondrop Dreams, that sounds interesting. Rooibos apple pieces, rose hip lavender lemon, lemon peel, orange peel. It's a rooibos tea, so maybe I'll like it, but Oscar, stop that right now! Scratching the sofa. But yeah, I think it's going to be this one. So I have obviously just got back from a run, so I'm very much ready for a cup of tea. I have to go do like my final bits of shopping today. It's one of those things where you just keep thinking of new things to buy people. It's mostly just like stocking filler bits, but I feel like I'm going to go straight out after a cup of tea. So a cup of tea, warm up, get out and get it done, and then I'll be doing some wrapping. Smells very, very minty, but I'm gonna, as usual, let it brew for a second while we let this flavours ruminate so that we can taste it and get the best possible impression. While I let that happen, I have a confession to make. I must confess, I did no reading yesterday. I feel like it's that last week before Christmas kind of like hectic vibe where days just keep flying by and you just don't know where they're going, but it's just what this time of year is like, so I just haven't found any time for reading, which is sad because I really do want to get on with reading this book, but at the same time, like I said yesterday morning, this isn't about rushing, and despite what I said at the beginning of Vlogmas about wanting to hit a reading goal, one thing that I have definitely come to terms with more this year is just reading when you can, when you want to, and because you want to, not just to hit these like arbitrary goals so that you can say you've read a certain amount. So if that means that I didn't have time to read for a couple of days, which was the case for me this week, then that's absolutely fine. So I'm absolutely adoring this book. It's just so wonderful and I cannot wait to get further through it. But at the same time, it's a busy time of year and it's not always possible to do loads and loads of reading. That said, I had plans earlier in the week, so obviously with Sarah on Tuesday and then with my mum yesterday, but aside from doing my shopping and wrapping today, have no plans today and I don't have any plans tomorrow, so I'm hoping that means I'll have a bit more time for reading. But yeah, just thought I'd make that confession because I haven't given any reading updates, quite frankly, because there's been no updates to give, so there we go. But shall we try some tea? I have to say, I love the smell of this because it smells so minty, like a candy cane or something, but It's interesting to me that it's a black tea with peppermint in it, because that's not a combination that you usually have. A tea is usually either a black tea or it's a peppermint tea, but you don't often get the blend of both, so I'm interested to see what that's going to taste like. Ooh. It's so minty, and yet there's like, I guess, more of a creaminess or a depth to the flavour than you would get with a normal peppermint tea. So the peppermint is definitely the dominant flavour, but I think maybe the cardamom and like the nuttiness is giving it like an extra level of depth and creaminess that I really, really like. Do you know what? That's not half bad. So there we go. Thank you, Door21, for finally giving me something to enjoy, because the last like 5 days have been so painfully disappointing. It's made me want to cry. So I'm very glad to have had a nice flavour of tea again. Now, with that said, I realised that at the beginning of Vlogmas, I was making vlogs that had 2 days each in, but spilt some tea, oops, we'll mop that up in a second. But yeah, at the beginning of Vlogmas, I was filming 2 days at a time and then editing, but the last few days I have just been rather busy, but not the sort of busy where I've been like filming loads, or it hasn't felt like I have. So I've just decided to make this one a slightly longer vlog with a few more days in it, because there wasn't really enough to make a whole vlog, if that makes sense. And to be honest, I haven't had time to edit anyway. So with that said, I'm going to finish this vlog here. So this will be the last Vlogmas that you see before Christmas, and then the next one will be the final episode of Vlogmas altogether, and that will be the one that includes Christmas Day itself. So thank you so much for watching. I will be reading some more of Little Women in the next vlog, and hopefully finishing it, but I would love to know, this is a classic that isn't, you know, explicitly Christmassy, but feels festive to me, and I would love to know if there is a book, classic or otherwise, that feels like Christmas to you and that you'd like to go back to every single year and read at this time of year. One that I used to have was always The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I would reread at Christmas time, and it just made me feel so nostalgic and cozy, and now this is the book that I'm sort of turning to at this time of year. So let me know in the comments what your festive time of year book is, whether it's Christmassy or not. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.